Longer video, but a lot of necessary information to be successful every time. Please don't destroy my algorithm, or at least it will help it. If you find a spot of the video that you're looking for, turn the volume down, restart the video, let the sucker play all the way. My name's Clay with the Clay Way here in Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Western Michigan. And I've got a wonderful video for you folks today. We are going to replace the master cylinder on my Sprinter van. The only difference is we're not going to use the ECM or a scanner to replace the master cylinder, and we're going to actually bleed it on the van without bleeding out all of the lines. I'm going to explain to you why this works and how it works, and this is pretty much possible to do on any vehicle. If you dig what we do in this video, please consider subscribing, clicking the notification, sharing our videos, sending us a super thanks, or at nighttime while you're sleeping, turn on my Sprinter playlist, turn the volume down, and let that sucker play. Okay, here's the skinny. For months, I have had no brakes on this van. I mean, I shouldn't say no brakes. I would bleed the brakes out, and for like a week, they would work, and then they would be soft. I looked underneath the van. There were several splices where the lines had been replaced. Then I was in Texas with it, and I was driving around, and I stomped the pedal one time, and I blew another brake line. Needless to say, after I got it done, the brakes were even worse than before I blew the brake line. One of the most fascinating things to me was that the gentleman that I purchased this van from told me that he's had it to the shop several times, and they could never find the brake leak. He got tired of messing with it, so he sold it to me, and it's a really, really nice van. I tried several times to actually find the brake leak. I didn't really try all that hard, you know, but because they weren't that bad, you would have to pump them twice, but it really became like just something I naturally did up until I couldn't get them to bleed anymore, which was about 36,000 miles later. By the way, traveling state to state without a plate, because of all of my white van privilege, I've never been pulled over. Back to the video. I could not find anything leaking from underneath it anywhere. Eventually, a friend of mine said, hey, you need to check the master cylinder. Well, at this point, I had ran out of options, and I never noticed any fluid leaking behind the master cylinder. Normally, when master cylinders leak, they'll leak behind there, and you can see them. But I had never remembered ever replacing one of these master cylinders on one of these vehicles in the past. So I pulled it out, because usually brake master cylinders do not have this long stem on them. But since this is up inside here, this goes up inside here, and I pull my fingers out of there and I've got brake fluid all over them, that tells me that this master cylinder, the rear cup, is no good. Now, of course, I'm going to take this thing off of here, and I'm going to put a new one on there, and I'm going to show you how to bleed this without bleeding the whole system. We're going to do this procedure and not bench bleed it, nor are we going to need a scanner to reset the ABS solenoids. But there are shortcuts around doing these things. You'll need another individual, and we'll have to put this back together correctly. So for right now, I've still got the lines hooked up. We're going to keep them that way until we have our master cylinder that we're going to install. So we're going to remove this used master cylinder off of here, and this is pretty cut and dry. I mean, it's not difficult to do at all. So it's only held on by two 10mm screws. We've got a little pushy right here. We're going to take out these two bolts and use a 12mm line wrench to get the brake lines off of the used master cylinder that we're going to install later. Here on this salvage vehicle, we can push the brake lines out of the way, but on your vehicle, you do not want to move these brake lines, or at least move them as little as possible. Do not bend them. My videos are often not only about how to do something, but why you're doing it. And this situation, you do not want to bend these brake lines out of the way like this, because they will be very difficult to get back square. Out of the way and release them. Now what you want to use is about a 9-inch extension. Obviously mine's much longer. We're going to remove the bolt here, bolt there. Keep in mind that you need to put something down on the ground to catch all of this brake fluid. Brake fluid is extremely corrosive, so anything that it falls on, it's probably gonna, it's gonna eat up. A lot of times when you go to remove these master cylinders, they're not gonna wanna pop out of the way like they should. So you can just get inside and push down on the brake pedal and it'll push it away. Behind the master cylinder, you're gonna have a plastic guard right here, which protects the back of the master cylinder, and you're gonna have 2 different springs, one inside each other. Inside the brake booster, you're gonna have a pin, and that pin is adjustable. Just so you know, it moves in and out, so you can adjust the length. You shouldn't have to do any adjustments to that pin. You shouldn't have to use a computer to bleed the master cylinder. This should be able to be done all manually. It will only takes about 5 to 10 minutes at most and is extremely simple to change. I'm also going to show you how to bleed this master cylinder out without bench bleeding it. If you take the time to think about what I'm about to show you here and you do it the way that I do it in this video, it's going to work. To get the front line off was pretty self-explanatory, but the rear one, we took the master cylinder away from the brake booster, put it at a 45-degree angle, and then we're able to loosen the nut. Now, once you get these loose, you should be able to just turn them with your hand and spin them out. As you're probably aware, there should be absolutely 0 brake fluid on the back of your master cylinder right there. That means the O-ring is bad if you do have some in there, and more than likely the plunger is compromised. I've set the brake master cylinder on its side so it doesn't sit here and leak out fluid. I'm gonna go up inside here, double check, and make sure everything's still connected. It kind of fits up in these little pockets and channels. You can just push that back up in there and let it set. It's got little fingers on the back plastic portion of the brake booster right here. Here's the part where I should have showed you how to take an evacuator and evacuate out the brake booster, because if yours is like mine, there's probably a ton of fluid down there, and of course that fluid's corrosive even to metal, so over time it's going to rust out the bottom of your brake booster. But I didn't do that because I forgot. If you've got a fluid evacuator like I do, you can suck that stuff out, but I'm certain you could use some cheap shop vac that you got laying around to do that. Don't use your wife's. She's going to get pissed. We can now go and grab our other one. We want to make sure that these lines turn nice and smooth. Definitely try not to bend them. In this position, you should be able to get them somewhat straight if you did accidentally bend them. So now I'm going to grab my new master cylinder and I'm going to put it on these lines and I'm going to tighten it down before I insert it inside here. And then I'm going to have my assistant push on the brakes as I put it in here. But as I put it in there, I'm going to make sure that the master cylinder has the proper amount of fluid in it. And when I push it on there, it's going to squirt that air out of there. We're going to open these just a little bit. This is going to make 100% sense to you if you think about it. This is going to allow us to not have to bench bleed our master cylinder. It's going to allow us to not have to bleed out all of our other brakes at the calipers or wheel cylinders in the rear. Going to make it a lot simpler and save us a lot of time. But even if this doesn't work for you, because you might have done a step incorrectly, it's not a big deal. You can just bleed out your brakes normally. The reason that we do that is to avoid having to actuate the ABS control module. If we do it this way, we will not have to bleed this out, and that's really what we're looking for. Trust me when I say, this is going to be clay-mazing. Believe this one on my left hand, which is the one I took off of my donor vehicle, is factory, and this one is not. There's not a part number on the top of this one like there is this one, and I believe that that's why it failed. Real quick, if you're digging what I'm doing in this video and it's helping you out, and I'm sure it will, at nighttime, put on my Clayway playlist, probably a Sprinter one, since you're watching a Sprinter video. Turn the volume down while you're sleeping and let the sucker play. That helps the clay away. I don't care if you're using used parts on a vehicle. Used parts are often better than aftermarket parts, brand new ones even. I'm certain this was replaced at the same time that people who worked on this oversold this guy's job by giving him drilled and slotted rotors, brand new calipers on the front, brand new struts. They did everything on a vehicle that only has 260,000 miles on it. Did you know every single part on a Sprinter van is designed to go 1,000,000 miles? I'm not saying they will without needing repair, but that was the intention of the designers of these vehicles. Now I'm gonna secure my brake lines to my master cylinder before I put my nuts back on for my master cylinder. While I'm inserting this, I'm gonna loosen my lines up a little bit so when I press this master cylinder up to the brake booster here, the air can be pushed from between the two lines right here. His foot is gonna stay down on the floor and hold it down to the floor till I tighten up these lines. Once I tighten up these lines and he lets his foot up, it's gonna suck the fluid out of here, in turn releasing the air up through the master cylinder. Okay, so now we're gonna have him hop inside the vehicle, push down on the brake pedal so we can line up our master cylinder to the brake pedal pin. We have to do that because of the angle of the dangle of the pin. It's almost like a flaccid, you know. Then as you install it, he's going to release the pedal, allowing the pin to stay up inside the shaft. Now, if you've done this correctly, you should be able to almost spin your brake lines all the way in. If you turn them a thread or two and they stop, that's because they're cross-threading. Don't get disappointed, just be patient and make sure that you're square up into whatever you're going into, in this situation, the master cylinder. I've seen a lot of guys struggle with brake lines, and the reason that they struggle is because they don't understand that they're fine threaded, and they should thread in very simply and very smoothly almost till the end. I'll fill the brake master cylinder reservoir up, then we'll loosen them a hair, and with an assistant on the inside, we'll push the master cylinder into place. Okay, so after you filled up that reservoir, we're gonna leave them lines cracked just a little bit and allow the brake fluid to start dripping out the two lines. And once it starts dripping out them two lines, like right there's the front one, and hopefully the rear one starts. If the rear one doesn't start and all it does is sit there and drip out the front one, we'll tighten up the front one and allow it to start dripping out the rear one. This will also help push the air out of the lines. Looks like we've got fairly good drips between both lines. So we're gonna let this sit here and drip for a few moments, probably 2 to 3 minutes. Not that it's necessary to take that long, but I do because I like to. Now we're gonna have our assistant get in the vehicle and he's gonna push down on the brake pedal. We have the lines loose, just loose, not undone. So when I push this on here, it should squirt out brake fluid out of here and should be, you know, semi-easy to assemble.
Wait. So now I'm an assistant?
Yeah, you're an assistant.
Assistant?
Ass.
Whatever.
Always an ass assistant. This was actually his idea, by the way. He was the one who told me to check this. I wouldn't have thought it worked like this, so. I have my brake lines secured so I can pull this master cylinder back. I didn't think I was going to need this much room to make sure the pin was lined up.
Can you see my pin? I can see your pin. Hey, Clay. I can see your pin. All right, go ahead and let off. Are you letting off?
Yeah.
All right.
You got it?
Yep, that's what it was. Start the nut. Hurry up.
Start the nut. Hurry up.
So, when you put it in, you have to make sure that the pin goes inside of the bar. Otherwise, it won't go all the way back to be able to get the nut on.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. I think once we get one nut started, we should be able to relieve the pressure off of the master cylinder to get the other one started, and we won't have to sit here and hold it. Now we can secure it down with our 10 millimeter. Okay, now that whole time we left the lines loose, the whole time we were inserting that, and that was allowing it to bleed out air out of there. Now what Tim's gonna do is he's gonna go inside and he's gonna hold down the brake pedal. Just push it down once to the floor. It's gonna squirt out of here. I'm gonna tighten it up. Then he's gonna raise the pedal, and we'll continue that 3 or 4 times until we have our brakes bled. Go ahead, push it down, Tim. Nice. And we can hear a ton of air coming out of there, which is excellent, which is absolutely what we want. That might also be coming out of the brake booster though, because it's got air inside it as well. Don't let it up. Okay.
I'm not. We're good.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt to do this, but it's worth it because we're saving ourselves probably an hour's worth of time of taking off the wheels, jacking it up, and hopefully we don't have to do anything except for bleed it up here. The only reason we would have to bleed it down there is before I caught this problem, we pumped a bunch of air into the lines, but I don't think so. I don't think so. At least I'm hoping not. We'll know. You'll be able to tell when your pedal is really high how hard it gets. You never bleed brakes with the engine running because the engine is going to create vacuum, and that vacuum is going to allow your brake booster to make them softer than they should be.
Isn't that the rule of thumb anyway? The more you pump it and play with it, the harder it gets.
Hey, he's got a very valid point there. All right, Tim, you can let it up. Now, with it let up, we're gonna loosen these lines up and do that once again. This time, we don't have to loosen them up a fraction. We just want the air to escape. And when it starts dripping like that, you know you've got it loose enough. All right, Tim, go push her down again. He's gonna push it down and hold it to the floor, and there we go. You hear all that air coming out of there over me running my mouth? Well, that's what we got. Now we tighten it up again. Every time he releases that pedal, with the springs and everything that's attached to the actual calipers and so forth and so on, it draws that fluid back up into the master cylinder, essentially drawing the air out of the lines. I'm using a regular wrench for this portion because I don't need to tighten these down. And a regular wrench, the reason that we don't normally use it, we use a line wrench, is because we don't want to strip out these. All right, Tim, you can let it up. Now, once again, I'm going to open them up. Just like bleeding brakes, with the exception, we're doing it at the master cylinder instead of at the brake calipers or wheels. All right, Tim, push her down. Yeah, I'm loving it. You know what else I would love? You, if you sent me a super thanks, if this video helped you out of a jam. Be really nice of you. I think we're pretty good. We're gonna give it a check and see. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you what our pedal does and what it does not do. First off, that pedal instantly is hard. You cannot pump it and make it harder, okay? Second off, if we hold it, it does not gradually go down to the floor. It should never do that when it's off and the brakes are correct and there's no air. It should stay exactly where it stops, because you're pushing all of that pressure against them calipers, and if everything's functioning correctly, you've got no issues. That is sensational. So I would say this is a complete success. And no, there wasn't anything that I did off of camera to try to trick you. This is genuinely clay-mazing. Well, I hope you folks enjoyed that video and you learned something about brakes you didn't know. My name's Clay with the Clayway here in Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Western Michigan. If this video was helpful, please consider subscribing, clicking the notifications, sharing my videos, giving me them sweet old thumbs up. If you've got an automotive or Sprinter related question, you can reach out to me on Clay's AC and Auto Repair on the Facebook Messenger. I'll certainly try to help everybody with their whips that I possibly can, but I cannot help you with baby mama drama. This video, hit that super thanks. We greatly appreciate that stuff. That's how we keep our show going. Remember, folks, don't be the next to them, be the absolute first of you. And if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. God bless, folks. Have a great day.